Hello and welcome to the release notes for the 30th of January. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. We have new permissions required to see all tickets. What does that mean? Before, we had the ability to see all tickets belonging to our dispatch group. However, the general tab and the predefined tab weren't covered by that. So we have a new permission that you can set to your custom roles that allow you to turn off uh, seeing all tickets here. So if you want your users to see all tickets, you can turn this on and they'll see all tickets regardless of their dispatch group for the general tab and the predefined tab. But if you don't want them to see all tickets, simply have that setting turned off. And when they go to general tab, they'll still see only the tickets that are part of the dispatch group and not all tickets for the whole account. And remember, as always, to update your current custom roles where needed when new permissions come in. Condition timers. We've reworked condition timers and added new options to enable SLA profiles for condition timers. Let's go there. First thing you may notice, we have still our old standard conditions, and now the warning timers and critical timers have been converted to the proper unit, so hours or minutes. Before they were only in minutes, and you could only create them in minutes. Now we have the ability to create warning timers and critical timers in minutes, hours, or days. Um, we've also improved the warning message, or let's say the message for when you choose a monitoring field. Now we clearly state without having to test out which one it is, uh, what needs to happen. So in this case, for this one, the critical time must be shorter than the warning time. And if I go to this one, the critical time must be longer than the warning time. And if you still make this same mistake here, you'll still see the message here, but we show you all the time which monitoring field requires which setup, making it much easier for you. Great. Uh, SLA profiles. What does that mean? When you turn it on, and if there is an SLA part of the appointment, it'll consider the business hours found in that SLA profile. If there is no SLA, it'll use calendar days, or if you have this off, it'll use calendar days as the default rather than any kind of business hours. Along that same line, we've also added this enable SLA profile for project call log settings as well. When you're enabling the waiting duration, you can now enable the SLA profile to same principle, consider the business hours from the SLA profile from that appointment where SLA exists. And yeah, we've also cleaned this up a little bit, the UX. So now everything fits as needed. We decreased the font size, just a little bit of cleanup there. All right, what else we got here? Customer portal got some love this release. We have, oh, what was there? We've added more options for our customer portal. So let's take a look directly at customer portal here. So first thing you'll notice here is we have a new legend, part storage interval, with an up arrow and a down arrow. So the upper left corner is the start time of the storage interval, and the bottom right arrow is the last day of the storage interval. So if it's, in this case, I believe it's 21 days, so it's going 21 days. If it's only a week, the arrow is going to be here. So easily your end users can see the part storage interval. So notice here I have yellow triangles, I have green dots, I can go all the way out as far as I want. So the end user at this point can pick any day they want to book an appointment. And that's coming up to these new switches here, enable strict engineer availability or enable strict parts availability. Uh, you can, let's just see what happens and I'll go into other stuff. So here, let's enable strict engineer availability. Remember what this looks like here. We'll save it, refresh the customer portal, and let's see what effects happened. So you'll see right off the bat, if you remember before, he had these yellow triangles here and yellow triangles here because engineer was not available those days. So this engineer strict availability is going to be very strict. Where an engineer is not available, it's not going to show that date. And again, you can go past the storage time interval. So that's pretty clear. So let's enable both of them. And I'm assuming you can predict what's going to happen now. Let's take a look anyways. So now, as expected, we have strict engineer availability and strict part storage availability. So there's no more, the user can no more select any other date outside of the part storage interval and the engineer availability. So let's turn off strict engineer availability. And you can probably assume what's going to happen now, just like that. We're only considering the part storage interval, but not considering the engineer availability. So engineers can still choose a day where the engineer may not be available and request an appointment on that day. So again, we have a nice chart here in the manual. If you make your way to the manual here, you can see a nice use case table on when it's off, when it's on, what's going to happen, what should happen, just for reference if you want to study that or just play with it like I did. I need to go back up here real quick. SLA profile switch. We have added a new page in our manual to go over a walkthrough on SLA profiles, how to create it. It gives a little more details on SLA profiles, how they can be used, where they can be used, what they affect, and all that stuff. So please make your way there. We'd like to get some feedback on that as well. All right. Interface forms for workflows. Um, there's a case where request is coming from the interface to field code where it's updating fields. We now have, without going into too much detail, you can now limit the fields that get updated by creating an interface form, which means that you can create an interface form. And let's say, for instance, you only need, for whatever reason, last name and first name updated at any time. You create the interface form, save it. Once you come back to it, you can download a payload example and you can forward this to your development team on counterparts development team where they can update their systems and only specific fields will get updated when needed. This is or will be an enterprise feature. Either way, once you create the interface form, you will need to contact support and they will help you further along on how to get this working 100% with your account. So please do not hesitate to contact support for more support. New report for analytics. So we have now included a new report for optimizer insights. Similar to dispatch and workforce insights, this is going to give you insights on optimization runs that you have completed for your account. So you simply, it's just going to collect as each optimization run. It's going to add a new field in here, or a new row in here, where you can simply also drill down through for the optimization details, also the optimization details per engineer, where you get more details on what took effect. You have a lot of before and after. So in this case, before I ran it, I had 2 tickets sitting in the ticket pool. After it was run, 2 more tickets were added. This is a very simple case, but once the optimization is more complex, you're going to see a lot more useful data. So please play with this, drill down. You'll see the benefits of running your optimization. So you'll be able to see what was affected per optimization and see why it's much better than you're not optimizing. All right. Let me get down here. All right. Now, branding for your account. We have our little logo here, but maybe you don't want that logo there. Maybe you want your own logo. We now offer the opportunity to add your own custom logo here. In this case, I created a nice little ugly one here. So for my company, you see it, it populates and overwrites the field code logo here. Same with workplace. So now you'll have your own branded account to use and share amongst your employees. All right. Logo. Good one. Custom fields. For a while now, you could create user objects, but they weren't displayed anywhere. So if you have user objects, we now display those under the user. You can simply go to user. Once every user object that's created and is active will populate below. This is the user and account partner. So I have 3 user objects created and active. So they simply just populate down here, and as you add more, it'll just populate below and below and below. So in this case, you can use all the different types. In this case, I have a text box, a date field, and an input field, or not a text box, a checkbox. So in this case, I'm just going to pick some of those. He's got assigned equipment. His start date will be on the 15th of February, and his supervisor is going to be Mr. Jones. Uh, and you can save this information here at all times. Per user, they have different information. So have fun with that one. That's good to have. All right, we have this time have given the ticket importer some love. We've added additional fields to the ticket importer to include, I want to say 5 new fields. You'll see them here in action. So the first one you notice right off the bat, the SLA field has been added, and this works similar to the category and subcategory field where you'll need to map your SLA field. In this case, it mapped automatically because I recognize it, but you also need to map it further from the field code SLAs matching the Excel import SLAs. In this case, it's pretty simple because I had it set up, but so you just match those, save it, map them. So SLA field is new. You'll see coverage code is added here. CNE parent is added here. Let's go to additional address info, supplier, specification reference, and that's what. So those are all been added. And this is just the beginning. We'll see more feedback. We'll add some more fields as needed. All right, let's move on to the apps. So the first thing you'll notice here, we have iOS has a nice little update here for when a ticket is marked with a VIP or an escalation. You'll see now that for iOS that flashes, the icon flashes a little bit, and if it's unread, you'll see the yellow border flashing around an unread ticket. That's nice. And you'll notice here the blue dots, that means that it was unread. So as you scroll through, you'll see really quickly at a glance which tickets you haven't looked at yet and which ones you have. Uh, it's a very nice, convenient option here. So once you click inside of it and you go back, the flashing border disappears and the blue dot disappears, but the icon will still be flashing. And you notice we have this more button here, so now you can see, without even having to go into it, you can see the description right away from the appointment card itself. That is a nice little addition as well. All right, cool. Map. We have improved the mapping. So we improved the clustering. So now when you zoom in and zoom out, you'll notice that it clusters, and you can click on the cluster and it'll show you all the appointments within that cluster. So as you zoom out or zoom back in, it'll decluster, but you can then again click inside that cluster and it shows only the 4 appointments in that cluster. Um, you can also click on a single ticket and get the card for that ticket. You can click on that too to go directly to the ticket itself. Same works in iOS. Simply click on it. You can access each ticket directly from that. And that is a very welcome addition to both Android and iOS. Excuse me. Another cool feature is parts. We had before the associated, we have the associated appointments down the bottom before. So you can go inside a part and see the associated appointment. You can click on it and you can go to the part that's assigned. However, when it was done and reported on, that associated report is now gone. Now we have it available, even if the ticket is not archived or the ticket is removed from archive, we now have it, the reference to which CNI or CNE, in this case, the ticket didn't have a CNE to it, but if it did, it would display the CNE or CNI and CNI, letting the engineer know which which ticket this part belonged to. That's a welcome addition as well. Okay, just scroll down a little bit here. So zooming, part retention, Clickable hyperlinks, you'll see here now in the report form, and info messages now have, um, if you add a link saved in the custom field, uh, it'll now be clickable. So you can click on the link. In this case, choose the code that applies. See here, detailed list of the codes, whatever. You can click on and go see list of codes, or if it's a um, customer page or whatever survey, anything, you can have these hyperlinks in your custom field, and they'll work in the app. We've also did good for the workplace. So now links work in the workplace as well. So we have a good example here. So links work out of ticket info. So you can simply click on the link here. All field values saved, all fields saved with values that are links will be converted to hyperlinks. In this case, address additional info is a hyperlink. The device tab, I have a hyperlink. In the history, these are all converted to hyperlinks, so no more copying and pasting into the URL. You can simply just click on this directly and it'll go directly to the page you need. So that's going to save a few steps for your dispatchers and make the product even better. Another thing I don't have an example of, but the child report for container tickets in the FMA is now available when the ticket is in progress on site. So when the ticket is in progress on site, the child report will be available to report each child report as needed for the container ticket. You may have noticed here the admin panel link is now moved down to the bottom just to match the admin panel here. Workplace link is here, and now on Workplace, the admin panel link is here. For those of you that use the partner portal, we have improved and overhauled the landing page for the partner portal. Before it was gray on gray on gray. Now it's much nicer looking. The buttons are nice. We have, in this case, a part attached to it, so you can include your part usage here. We have collapsible and expandable sections to quickly look at the details of the device, ticket details, parts, and you can look at everything in one nicely viewable page here. We have a new filter for expert tab and the ticket info tab, where you can go to the tab here, and now we have so before you could click on these to look at the dispatch groups. Now we have one for no group assigned. So if you click on that, it's going to show you all the tickets that don't have defined group. We needed to add that here in the expert tab because you could do that in a predefined tab, but in the expert tab, some tickets are getting missed because we couldn't find them. So now we have that there for you. We overhauled all the icons on the page. You may or may not notice, but all the icons throughout the application have been improved or redone. The biggest change is the lightning symbol. I don't know if it looked like before. It looked more like a lightning bolt. Now it looks a little like a different lightning bolt, but much better. Storage interval is now displayable. So when you're adding parts to a ticket, you can add a storage interval. The problem was you couldn't know that without having to go back into the edit form, and now you can see here we have the storage interval displayed on the shipping history here. So you can now find it as needed. Also in parts, we have significantly increased the quantity of parts allowed. So you can now simply add quite a few more parts than you could before. Yeah, so no limitations there. It's quite a high number to add parts. Some notable fixes. We have increased we've improved the messaging for emails. When sending emails, it was never clear when you got a message, it just said something like failed. We've now made it much clearer if it was successfully sent or unsuccessfully not sent. So now we have better messaging for when trying to send emails from workplace. There were some crashing issues with the interface monitoring page. This should no longer be an issue. We have improved the behavior of locked engineers to tickets. So before you you could move tickets from engineer to engineer even though the engineer was locked. Now, when you try to move an engineer to a ticket, you cannot. You cannot move a locked engineer until you unlock the engineer, and then you can move the ticket to the engineer. Same applies when you're if a locked engineer is locked on and a ticket request is coming from the end user from customer portal, it's not going to affect the locked engineer, and the same thing with the scheduling assistant. And the last notable improvement is the heavily improved optimization performance. Optimization is running much smoother, much faster, producing results much quicker now. So this is all I have for the release from the 30th of January. So thank you, everybody.